All right, so get this, everyone. Today we are going deep on weddings.
Weddings.
Yeah, but not just any weddings. We're talking Meridian House weddings in D.C.
Nice.
I mean, you sent over this crazy in-depth guide.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I am already there.
Oh, yeah.
In my head, I am swanning around that courtyard in like the most amazing outfit. Even though, I am not the one getting married.
Right.
But really, Meridian House, this place looks...
He's pretty special.
I mean, this is not your average, like, banquet hall situation, right?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, what gets me about the Meridian House is that it's just so much more than just a venue, you know?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we're talking about a place that's 1 mile north of the White House. It's on the National Register of Historic Places.
Wow.
And on top of that, it was designed by the same architect who did the Jefferson Memorial.
No way.
Yeah. John Russell Pope, if you're keeping track.
Okay, yeah.
His style, it's all about this classical, almost monumental, like very grand style. So when you get married there, it's almost like you're stepping into a piece of architectural history. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm picturing, like, big columns, maybe some sweeping staircases. But the guide also mentions gardens, a linden grove.
Yeah.
I mean, is this one of those places that tries to be everything to everyone?
That's a good question.
Or does it actually pull off this mix of, grandeur and...
romance.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. It could totally feel jumbled.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is how Pope, the architect, he really brings the gardens into the whole design, like seamlessly, picture like French urban architecture, but with this really American twist.
Oh, yeah.
The gardens aren't just like off to the side.
Right.
They're like a part of the whole flow, almost like outdoor rooms,
Interesting.
So you get the stately feel, but then there's also this softness and intimacy, which is perfect for a wedding, obviously.
Okay, I see. So you're not just like sticking some flower pots around a statue or something.
No.
But, okay, French urban architecture in D.C.
Right.
I'm no expert, but that sounds like kind of a unique combo.
Totally unique. And the original owner, Ambassador Irwin Boyle Laughlin, he knew what he was doing.
Okay.
I mean, he clearly wanted to bring some of that Parisian style to the capital.
Okay.
So you see things like these elegant facades, the wrought iron details, even the limestone they used, all very Parisian.
Okay.
But then it's all like scaled up,
Yeah.
Bigger windows, higher ceilings.
Yeah.
It's this cool blend, this like transatlantic thing,
Wow, yeah. That is really interesting. But, okay, history lesson aside.
Right.
I'm the kind of person who likes to, get to the point.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah, exactly. So why Meridian House? Like, why should our listener who's, planning their big day choose this over any other fancy place in D.C.? What's the real selling point?
Well, besides, getting married in a piece of history,
Yeah.
I think the big draw is that feeling of exclusivity. Like, when you book Meridian House, you get the entire property.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, the whole thing. So no running into another wedding party.
Oh, that's nice.
No limits on which spaces you can use.
Okay.
It's like, it's your mansion for the day.
Wow.
And you have all these options inside and outside. You can totally customize it.
Okay, that makes sense. No awkward run-ins with, like, another bride in the same dress.
Exactly.
But customization can be a double-edged sword, right?
Nice. How so?
Like, do they give you free reign?
That's a good question.
Or are there a million rules because it's so historical?
Well, there are definitely some guidelines.
Right.
I mean, you got to protect the building, right?
Yeah.
But from what I'm seeing, it's more about like preservation than restriction,
Okay.
I think more no glitter cannons and less like you have to use these exact flowers.
Okay, yeah.
And they really stress working with their event team, who are pros, obviously,
Right.
at navigating both the history and the couple's vision.
So it's not like you're stuck with dusty old furniture?
No.
And, like, can't choose your own music?
No, not at all. They have some antique pieces, which are really cool.
Yeah.
But you can bring in your own vendors.
Yeah.
You can create your own vibe,
What?
whether it's like super traditional or, modern with a historical twist, whatever you want, basically.
Okay, so like a blank slate
Kind of.
with a historical backdrop.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. But let's get into some specifics.
Okay.
We've got this whole guide here on making a Meridian House wedding magical.
Right.
But how does that actually work in real life?
Yeah.
Where does the fairy tale even begin?
That's a good question. Well, I think for a lot of couples, the fairy tale kind of starts with walking down the aisle, right?
Makes sense.
And Meridian House has some options for that. Different, like, chapters for that moment, you know?
Okay, so not just like one ceremony spot.
Right.
I'm guessing this is where those first little gardens come in.
You got it. So if you're an outdoor person,
Yeah.
there's the linden grove.
Okay.
Like, imagine saying your vows under these huge linden trees, the sun coming through the leaves. It's very romantic.
Oh, yeah, that sounds so pretty.
Yeah.
But this is DC.
True.
What if it rains?
Yeah, you don't want to be standing in a puddle.
Right, exactly.
So that's where the indoor options come in.
Okay.
They have this really nice library. It's perfect if you have a smaller ceremony or if you just want that cozy, like, fireside vibe.
Okay, so we've got the nature option. We've got the bookworm option.
Right.
What if you're going for something a little more, I don't know, grand?
Then the main hall is the place for you.
Okay.
High ceilings, French doors, the whole deal.
Fancy.
It's super elegant, perfect for a ceremony, but it's also big enough that you can flow right into the reception.
Oh, that's nice. So you're not, like, moving everyone around. Okay, so lots of options. But before we get too carried away with the, flowers and the seating charts,
Right.
what about the logistics?
Yeah.
Like, what are the practical things you need to think about when you're planning a Meridian House wedding?
Well, with any historical place, the first thing is guest capacity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can't just, like, cram hundreds of people into a room that was designed for small gatherings.
Right, because I'm picturing those fancy Parisian salons
Yeah.
with, like, delicate furniture and antiques, not exactly the place for a wild dance floor.
You got it. So Meridian House can fit a good number of people, but you really need to talk to their team early on
Okay.
to figure out what's realistic.
Right.
They can help you choose the right rooms and make sure the guest list works with the space.
So you don't want your guests feeling, like, squished in like sardines.
Exactly.
Okay, good point. But what about all the other stuff, like the food, the music, all those vendors?
Yeah.
Do they have a huge list of people you have to use?
Actually, no, that's one of the things that makes Meridian House so cool. You get to choose your own vendors.
Oh, really?
They do have a preferred list, but you're not obligated.
So you're not stuck with, like, their cousin's catering company
Exactly.
that makes questionable lasagna. Phew.
Right.
But I'm guessing with a place this old, there have to be some rules.
Oh, yeah.
Like, can you just go hang in disco balls from the chandeliers?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Like we said, there are guidelines to protect the building.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're more about working with the existing aesthetic
Okay.
rather than, like, imposing a ton of limitations.
So more like enhanced than overhaul.
Exactly. It's like you wouldn't buy a vintage Chanel dress and then, cover it in glitter, would you?
No, probably not.
You'd want to show it off, right?
Right.
Meridian House is kind of the same. The decor should go with the history, not clash with it.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
It's like you can have an awesome party in a museum, but you shouldn't start moving the exhibits around. Exactly. But let's move on from the rules. Let's talk about what makes Meridian House really special.
Okay, yeah.
This guide keeps mentioning this fairy tale atmosphere.
Yeah.
Is that just marketing? Or is there something actually there that creates that feeling?
Right.
I think it's more than just marketing.
Okay.
A lot of it comes from how well they blend the inside and outside.
Uh-huh.
Remember those garden rooms we were talking about?
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Okay.
It creates this flow, this movement that you don't get in other venues.
So you're not stuck in one ballroom all night.
Exactly.
You can actually walk around and, like, discover different spaces.
Yeah, like you could have cocktails in the courtyard, dinner in the main hall, and then dancing under the stars in the linden grove.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like this feeling of enchantment, like you're exploring some secret garden or something.
Yeah, that's very different from your average wedding factory.
Right.
But let's be real. Planning a wedding, even in a fairy tale setting, is a lot of work. So what are the key things someone should do to make sure their Meridian House wedding really lives up to the hype? All right, so we've talked about the venue itself, like, the logistics, even what to do if it rains on your big day. But now let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Making this Meridian House wedding, really yours.
Right.
Because a beautiful backdrop is great.
Yeah.
But it's the little details, the personal stuff
Absolutely.
that make a wedding memorable.
For sure.
And the guide does a great job, I think, of laying out some, thematic approaches that play to Meridian House's strengths.
Definitely.
And it's not just about picking a color scheme.
No.
It's like creating an entire mood.
Yeah. It's about the whole atmosphere.
Okay, so less Pinterest board and more like
Ignatius.
experience.
Yeah, exactly. What are some of the themes they suggest?
Well, one that really jumped out at me was historical elegance,
Oh, that makes sense.
given the history of the place.
Yeah. It's all about those classic timeless details, like calligraphy on the invitations, maybe even a vintage postage stamp motif.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
What about, like, the decor?
Yeah.
I'm thinking candelabras, maybe some rich colors like jewel tones to match those Parisian walls. Limestone.
And they also talk about incorporating historical elements, but specifically about DC.
Okay.
Like, what if you had vintage maps as your centerpieces?
Oh, that's cool.
Or, like, framed pieces of old documents? It's like you're weaving the city's story into your own love story.
That's such a good idea.
Right.
It's like you're not just at Meridian House, you're like part of it.
Yeah.
But okay, what if our listener is less into history?
Yeah.
And more into, nature?
Yeah. They have a theme for that, too. It's kind of garden romance.
Okay, what's that like?
It's all about bringing the outdoors in. Like lots of greenery, flowing fabrics, soft colors.
That sounds pretty.
But how do you make it different from any other garden wedding? Right?
Right, because this is Meridian House.
Exactly.
Not just someone's backyard.
So the key is to take inspiration from the specific gardens at Meridian House.
Okay, I like that.
For example, the Linden Grove could inspire the flowers. Like imagine cascading bouquets of linden blossoms.
Oh, wow.
Or centerpieces with little sprigs woven in.
That's beautiful and so much more unique than just, like, your standard roses.
Right. It's like you're creating a little piece of Meridian House that people can take with them.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we've got the history buffs. We've got the nature lovers. What about the couple that's a little more, I don't know, artsy?
They have a theme called Artistic Flair.
Okay, tell me more.
It's all about, like, celebrating creativity.
Okay.
They suggest taking cues from DC's art scene, like maybe incorporating replicas of famous artwork.
Oh, interesting.
Or even commissioning a local artist to create something special.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's like your wedding is also a mini art exhibit.
I love that. But okay, let's be realistic. Not everyone wants to go full-on theme.
Right.
What if you just want, like, a classic, beautiful wedding that fits the season?
They talk about that, too. It's about embracing seasonal themes.
Okay.
So, like, a fall wedding could have those warm colors, pumpkins and gourds as decorations.
Oh, that's cozy.
And maybe a signature cocktail with, like, seasonal spices.
Okay, I'm into it.
Yeah, and then a spring wedding could be all pastels and blossoms, like the garden is just blooming for you.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Right. And a winter wedding could be magical with candlelight and those beautiful limestone walls as a backdrop.
That's so true.
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
So it's like Meridian House gives you the base, and then you get to build your own wedding story on top of it.
I think that's a perfect way to put it.
Well, you've sold me. I not only want to get married at Meridian House now, I kind of want to crash every wedding that happens there.
I don't blame you. It's a really special place.
It sounds like it. Well, I think we've given our listener plenty to think about.
I hope so.
Huge thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Meridian House weddings.
It was my pleasure.
I hope you're leaving with tons of ideas and, like, a little bit of wedding fever.
Just a little.
Remember, whether you go with Meridian House or another amazing venue, the most important thing is to celebrate your love in a way that feels right for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep diving deep.